Good afternoon. Hopefully people are coming into our program, the book launch for the Living in the Thriver Zone book. We'll be starting in a few minutes, but I wanted just to have a chance to make sure everybody's coming in. This is the book launch for my book. I'm Susan Omilian, Living in the Thriver Zone. I know a lot of you are coming in. There should be a chat set up for you to leave us some information as you come in. In particular, the questions I thought would be interesting is I know people are coming from different parts of the country, and even from Canada today. So if you want to put into the chat that where you're from, what state or country you're from, and also how you know me. Susan Omilian, you must know me. Maybe you don't know me personally, but if some way, I know there's some members of my family on, some of my friends, a number of the women who come through my workshop. So I'd love to have you do that. As you're entering, of course, I can't see the chat right now, so I'm going to stop the share for a minute here. Let's see. There we go. Welcoming everybody who's coming in, starting our program. Thank you so much for coming on to the webinar. We're starting here a little after 4 o'clock on the East Coast. Love to have you put into the chat at the bottom. If you're not familiar with Zoom, the bottom of the screen, there's a chat. There should be some questions posted there. Where you're coming, where you're from, and how you know me or how you might have been involved with my programs or presentations. And I think the last question is about how you're feeling today about being a thriver. Okay. So what I'd like to do is start our program. I have a couple people who are doing backup for me today, Cindy and Monica, so they're going to be monitoring the chat room. Also, as we move into our panel discussion, and I'll show you the program in a minute, there's also a Q&A function, questions and answers. If you have a question or a comment to make during the panel discussion, it's best to put it in the Q&A rather than the chat. And we'll be able to answer questions. If you'd like to ask your question unmuted, we can certainly do that. As many of you know, on a webinar, everyone, all the attendees are muted. There are a number of panelists here who will be being part of the program. So that's what we're going to be trying to do if you'd like to do that, or you can put your question into the Q&A and for the panel. Okay, let me just go through the program really quickly as how we're going to do this, and then I'm going to introduce our moderator for the day, who is Mary Jones. Here's some of the people who will be on our presentation beside myself. I'm up there in the left-hand corner. Mary Jones, Charlene Smith, and also Kate Callahan, our singer-songwriter. So we'll start with a welcome by Mary Jones, who's currently on a program at WENG, all about women. She'll talk more about that. I'll do some remarks. I have some women. If you have any idea about the book I'm putting out, Living in the Thriver Zone, there's 7 women in particular who've come through my program. I call them the Thriver Success Stories. They'll be reading some short pieces from their interviews that I did for the book. And then Kate Callahan will sing us a song, one of her wonderful songs. Kate's been involved in my program and my book launches for a number of years. This is our panel I was talking about. I call it the Hope, Healing, and Empowerment panel. Moderated by Mary. It'll include Charlene Smith, Sister Anne Marie Rafferty, and myself. And there'll be a poll. We'll talk a bit about some of the things we're going to highlight, give you a chance to chime in on those too. And then there'll be 2 other readings from the book by Sophia and Catherine, another song by Kate Callahan, and then call to action by Sharon Caslin, who's a woman I have hired over a number of years to help me with book marketing, and talk a bit about what's coming up next for some of the material that I've been developing, and also some of the things that might be of interest to you. And then Kate's going to finish out with a song. I also wanted to mention that because many of you have been on my programs or are in the Archangel, My Avenging Angel workshops, we love to have some Zoom rooms and just hang out for a bit. So after this webinar is over, there will be a posting in the chat room for a link to a Zoom meeting, which will allow us to hang out a bit and see each other. So please join us. It's a post book launch. You can bring your own snacks and drinks, and we'll hang out. I'd love to chat some more with people, particularly people I haven't seen for a while, like some of my family, because we've all been quarantined. All right. So if we're ready to go here, I'm going to stop the screen share. Cindy, we're going to move Mary Jones to be on the screen visually and unmute her. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, this is Cindy's voice, and she's our guiding light here. Go ahead.
Mary should be able to unmute and put on her video.
Yes, all right. All right, are we all ready? Can you hear me? Wonderful, wonderful. Well, first of all, welcome to everyone. I know we have folks with us today from lots of different time zones, lots of different parts of the country. So whatever time of day or night it is for you, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Mary Jones. As Susan mentioned, I had done a radio show called The Mary Jones Show in Hartford, Connecticut on WDRC for many, many years. I'm now living in Florida, hosting a radio show by the name of All About Women in Englewood, Florida. It's on the beautiful southwest coast of Florida. And I had the distinct pleasure and honor and just plain treat to meet Susan when I was up in Hartford. She was a guest on my show, gosh, Susan, a few times. And yes. I instantly, from day one, became very, and I'm going to use the word enamored with her because of who she is, because of her character, because of all that she was doing, and that was many years ago. At this point, I can say continues to do to help women. And we're launching today this fabulous book right here, Living in the Thriver Zone. Before I officially introduce Susan, I want to mention something about this book because I have read it. Goosebumps. I mean, I got goosebumps through many parts of that book. And I was realizing as I was reading it that for me, and I bet for a lot of people, it really is a different type of book. It has more value, it has more power. And what I mean by that is a lot of great books, you know, what do? We read them, we digest what they say, we learn from them, and that's an awful lot to ask of one book, isn't it? And that's wonderful. This book, a totally different experience because it allows you to engage with it. It allows you to make it your own. It allows you to personalize it and to tailor it towards your situation and towards your own dreams. So the value and the power that comes in these pages right here is just really astounding. So let me officially introduce to you the author of Living in the Thriver Zone, a celebration of living well as the best revenge, Susan Omilian. Some of you may know of her. Most of you probably know of her. I'm going to refer to her with a word that she is going to hate, but I'm saying it anyway. Susan, I'm gonna refer to you as our star, because you truly are, because of all the passion and commitment that you have demonstrated over the years with your work to women. You are our star. In addition to that, and bear with me, I'm just going to read something because I don't want to leave anything out. Susan is, as most of you know, she's an attorney, award-winning author, workshop leader, whose new book, as we've been talking about, Living in the Thriver Zone, a celebration of living well as the best revenge, we are launching right here, right now. Now, this book completes her Thriver Zone trilogy. That's 3 books that set forth the motivational guidance she has successfully used in her My Avenging Angel workshops with hundreds of women over the last 20 years. And what Susan has done during that time frame and continues to do is help women take the journey from victim to survivor to thriver. I get goosebumps just thinking about that, Susan, and to actually reclaim their lives. Today is a very special day also because it is the anniversary of the death of Susan's 19-year-old niece, Maggie, who was killed in the year 1999 by her ex-boyfriend in her college dorm room. And after Maggie's death, and Susan and I have had many conversations over the years about this, she just vowed and has stuck with that to help women move on after abuse as Maggie could not. So Susan, hello. It's so nice to see you again, by the way.
Same here. It's like we haven't seen each other. We haven't seen each other for such a long time.
And thank goodness for Zoom. Thank goodness.
Yes, and you know, one of the things I've learned about COVID is there are opportunities, and this is one of the opportunities. That
absolutely, there are. So we'll be grateful for that. We'll be grateful for that. I have a couple questions, Susan, I'd like to ask you before we get started, or now that we are started.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The first one is, you know, what's one word that I know is so important to you that you always use in your writing and in your workshops is the word thriver. Mm-hmm. Could you describe to me and to all of us on our call today, what does that really mean to you, that word?
I think, well, one of the things I've learned about that word is that I don't think we have a complete definition yet, and not so much that we can't define it. I have a working definition, and I think it's in the book because I talk about it as a working definition because it's a word that I think we're still being expansive about. And the women that I meet, and one of the things I'll have the 7 women in the book do today is read what they think thriving's about. But for me, after Maggie's death, I think what it initially meant to me was I wanted to do more than survive what happened. That not just for me personally, but that I know if Maggie had survived herself, that she would not be sitting still. So to me, it's like, what's the next thing? And it's not just you know, getting caught in your anger or looking for revenge. I got the idea of living well as the best revenge. And that's really what I wanted to do. And I thought if I can put that out and be some kind of role model, then let's see what that looks like. And I think the women have really, and I know you praised me and called me a star and everything, but I say this a lot and I truly mean it. The women have defined this. They're the best measure of what I do. And I've just sort of like put this out there and they have taken it and moved it through. And that's why I wanted to interview these at least 7 women. I'd love to have interviewed more of the women from my workshop because there are many, many, many of them, and many of them are on the call here today. But I wanted to give the world some idea of what happens when we put that really amazing vision out there for people and see what we can do.
Well, and I love that. Let's talk about the book in terms of how it was produced. Mm-hmm. And I know, as you just alluded to, it was so important for you to have the women talk about their experiences working with you. Could you just talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, so I thought I'd get 7 women together. They're a diverse group. I try to look in terms of diversity, age-wise, how long they've been in the program. Sophia is someone in the group who has been probably the longest. in the program, and just try to get a sense of, no matter what women's age or race or cultural background or what they've gone through in their life, that we are looking for a journey beyond abuse. And in fact, as many people know, I do not ask the women to tell me their story. I don't even know some of the stories, even with women I've known for years. But really, it's how did you get from here to there? And so I thought, well, the only way to talk about living in the Thriver Zone is to talk to women in my group who are living it and let them define it. And that's really what I tried to do with the book.
Well, I know, Susan, that for today and just in general, you use the words, I've heard you, hope, healing, and empowerment. How do those three very powerful words come into play with your book and the work that you do and your vision for folks?
Well, I go back to my experience with Maggie's death. I had done this work with women in domestic violence and sexual assault, sexual harassment before Maggie was killed. And I always talk about this. It's kind of strange, but everything I ever did came to Maggie's in the moment of learning she had died and how she had died. It's like everything I ever did came to that moment. And so for me, that was my only hope. I couldn't bring Maggie back. I couldn't stop the pain that was caused to my family. My brothers and sisters and sister-in-laws and my mom and Maggie's mom, Maggie's grandmother and Maggie's parents, my brother and sister-in-law. So all we could do is say, what's our hope for the future? And, Maggie was one of those kids like, that's so unfair at Susan, we got to do something about that. And so that really is what, and then the idea that I wanted to heal. I didn't want to get stuck in this anger or resentment or guilt. I should have been able to help Maggie and I didn't. And then finally, empowerment. If we don't empower ourselves and empower other people, then everything is not useless, but it then becomes a trap and we get stuck in the victim to survivor over and over and over again. And many women who come into my workshop, and you hear a couple of the women from the book talk about that, they can see they're stuck in that spiral. I'm a really good survivor. I can survive anything. And I really just ask the question, okay, let's take that energy and move it to the next step. And I came up with the word thriver, which has been out there, but it's still sort of gaining some momentum. And so for me, actually, hope, healing, and empowerment was my own sort of mandate, my own mantra. And all I hope to do was to pass that on as a role model to the women, and they have taken it and gone like gangbusters with it.
Well, I have a feeling, Susan, that Maggie would be very proud of her aunt and the way that you are honoring her. So that, that's just, again, goosebumps. We're going to be having some readings, I know, from some of the women included in the book. Do we want to get to that right now?
Yes, so here's how we're going to do it. I wanted people to be able to see these women and actually hear them. There's one person, Pamela, who's in the book, who couldn't come today. She really wanted to. One of the things, because I'm working on empowerment, is at the end of my workshops, every woman has a goal that they're working from. And one of Pam's goals was to get a job, and she just got a really good job recently. So she had to work. She actually has several jobs. We're working on getting her one good job, but this weekend she needed to work. So Monica, who's our backup person, is going to read for Pamela. But what we're going to do, the first question I asked the 7 women with the interview, and in the book, the interviews are in full, but there's also some summary pages. So if you have a book, we're reading from page 35 to begin with. So this is a summary of the question I asked them. Where were you? What did you think about yourself and your future? What were you thinking about where you were when you entered the workshop? For people who don't know, it's a 2-day workshop. If they come to both sessions of the workshop, they can come into my follow-up group. But really from the very beginning, where do you think you were, and where was your idea of hope, healing, and empowerment? So we're going to start with Adrian. We're going to take a moment to figure out how to get Adrian on the screen, but we'll do it.
Here I am. Hello, everyone.
Great.
From the beginning. When I first met Susan, I was a very good survivor, but not much more than that. In fact, I was a high functioning survivor. might have felt like I was moving forward, but actually I was vacillating between victim and survivor. I didn't know what thriving was at all. I was doing the best that I could, but it was life was always a struggle. I was nowhere close to thriving.
Great. Catherine.
Hi, this is Catherine. Coming into Susan's workshop for the first time, I didn't feel so good about myself. Actually, I felt terrible. So many people's words had beaten me down for so long. I certainly wasn't thriving. I wasn't full of joy for life at all.
Great. Jenny.
Jenny, the one thing I remember about coming to Susan's workshop was how I was struggling with symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD at the time. I was functioning though, so every therapist I went to told me, oh, you're fine. But I didn't feel fine, and I didn't want to live like that anymore. It was one of the darkest times I ever remember living through.
And I'll be reading on behalf of Pamela.
Yeah, Pam.
When I first met Susan, I didn't see any future ahead of me. I had no dreams about what I wanted to be in my life. I had a tiny bit of hope, but not a lot. Hope means to me that something good is coming and you can start to see that there are possibilities out there, but I had very little hope.
Sophia.
When I came into Susan's workshop for the first time, it was a cold winter day in January, and I was broken. I felt like I was coming to a place of refuge, someplace better than where I was. I needed someone to tell me that I deserve better.
And Tawanda.
When I first met Susan, I wasn't feeling too good about myself. I was in a very toxic, abusive relationship, and I felt trapped there without a real future ahead of me. I guess I was looking for some kind of change in my life, but I wasn't sure I was ready for that. I wasn't sure that I can do it.
And finally, Tennille.
I was feeling okay about myself when I first came to Susan's workshop. I was feeling okay about myself until Susan wrote Victim to Survivor to Thriver on the board and talked about how the journey beyond abuse was from struggle to transformation to happy ending. It was then that I realized I wasn't living in my happy ending, but stuck somewhere in between victim and survivor.
Thank you. So that was the sort of the playing field that I was on. Cindy, I'm back on the screen. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, you are.
I can't see what you guys can see, so it's kind of interesting process here. But Cindy is our guide, so thank you. So that's the playing field that I'm usually given. It's pretty typical. Some women like Jenny had done a lot of exploration before. Some women come into the workshop like, I don't know why I'm here. Somebody told me to come. And some are have had many years of trying to struggle. In fact, if I ask them in any way how many years ago you had left a relationship or got divorced, sometimes they tell me 10, 15 years, and there's still this yearning, this longing for something else to happen, and they don't know how to get there. So when I start the workshop and really begin to move them through some of the exercises, the writing exercises, which are somewhat in this book, but they're also in some of my previous books in more detail. One of the things we start to develop by the end of the day, the first day and certainly the second day, is bringing out the happy person inside, quieting the negative, bringing up the positive, and really starting to define in some way what thriving means to them. So one of the other questions that I asked all 7 women as part of the book interview was, what does being a thriver mean to you today? Or I think the interviews were last November. I suspect that even in the year since the interviews, they're even more bigger, but let's just go through the summary for each one of them of what being a thriver means to me, starting with Adrian. And Tawanda, if you can work on your audio a little bit or come sit a little closer, that'd be great. I want to hear everything you have to say. All right, starting with Adrian, go for it.
I know I'm a thriver because I can look at myself in the mirror and see a happy face.
I think we lost you, Adrian. Adrian, I think we lost you. Let's see. Cindy, you know what's going on?
She is not muted.
Feel
I'm not.
joy when I wake up
There you
in
go.
the morning. Joy, joy, joy to be alive, joy to work, joy to see my children grow to be adults. I know I'm a thriver because I see color in the world again. The world is a rainbow.
Excellent. Catherine.
Thriving to me is living within my own personal power while still respecting others. Even if I am angry at those who hurt me, I still choose to treat them with respect and compassion. That is a very important value to me. Thriving means taking care of myself so well that I have energy to take care of others, even those who have hurt me. Feeling compassion for those who hurt me is the ultimate level of thriving to me. It is a level of integrity that comes from being whole.
Great. Jenny.
At first, being a thriver was about living in the moment, letting go of what happened to me in my past and living without fear. Now I feel that thriving is really about living authentically and letting go of the feeling that you have to please people or be worried about what other people feel about you.
Great. And Monica for Pamela.
Yes. Before I came to Susan's workshop, I thought a thriver was someone who had it all together. She was rich, really warm, taking good care of her kids, and had every quality you would ever want. Now I think of a thriver as somebody who takes whatever their life gives them. A lot of people have bad things going on, and they just walk through it. They're able to be kind to people along the way, pursue their goals, and keep going and trying. Today, I can see that I'm getting there as a thriver. I have grown a lot, and I've been trying different things.
Great. Sophia.
To me, being a thriver is about movement. It is about processing our experiences in life, the good ones as well as the difficult ones, and doing self-reflections so that we can move on to the next level of self-improvement. Just as I have been inspired by those like Susan, who have been empowered by the tragedy they have faced, I know that I too can be a role model for others by moving beyond the circumstances of my life. I have something I can give back to people who are hurting. We all have something that has caused us pain and trauma, and giving back once we move beyond the pain and trauma is our legacy of hope to others.
Tawanda.
Thriving to me is about living beyond the abuse, beyond the pain. Where I am today compared to 3 years ago is like I'm walking on water. Now I believe that there's nothing that can stop me except for me. I still struggle with my inner critic now to keep it quiet, but that battle is nowhere near what it was before. Today, I tell myself, I want to do this, and I can do it. There is no more, oh, I can't, or what's someone gonna think of me? If I do this or that, no, I'm going for it. I'm doing it. I shortcut all that negative chatter. I have no time for that anymore. In my journey from survivor to thriver, I have set my goals, kept my energy focused, quieted my inner critic, and remembered my vision for the future. It feels like I'm living my fantasy in real life. It is so cool. No one has ever done something like that before.
All right. Tawanda's sound wasn't great, so I'm going to read it again because this is such a wonderful piece. All right. So, and I won't read it anywhere close to the way Tawanda reads it. So, Tawanda's piece is thriving to me is about living beyond the abuse, beyond the pain. Where I am today, compared to 3 years ago when she came into the workshop, is like I'm walking on water. Now I believe that there is nothing that can stop me except for me. I still struggle with my inner critic and how to keep it quiet, but that battle is nowhere near where it was before. Today I tell myself I want to do this and I can do it. There's no more, oh, I can't, or what's somebody going to think of me if I do this or that. Nope, I'm going for it. I'm doing it. I shortcut all that negative chatter. I have no time for that anymore. In my journey from survivor to thriver, I have set my goals, kept my energy focused, quieted my inner critic, and remembered my vision for the future. It feels like I'm living my fantasy in real life. It's so cool. No one else has ever done something like that before. Great. And Tennille, go for it.
Thriving has allowed me to be more forgiving of myself and more compassionate, even for people who have abused me. I don't have to hug them or be their friends, but I can and do forgive them with all of my heart. Would saying that make a difference to them? I don't know. But saying it for myself makes me feel better when I'm not holding on to that emotional baggage. Also, letting go of negative thoughts and energy keeps me more in positive energy, something that is very important to me on my journey from survivor to thriver. I need people around me who are positive and supportive.
Great. So those are the thrivers. They are articulating what Mary asked me from the beginning, which is what is this definition and what is a thriver? Who is a thriver and what are they doing? Thank you for all the people who put stuff in the chat room, my aunts and uncles and my cousin and my brother and sisters and sister-in-laws. Also, Monica's going to put into the chat room the information about how to contact me and where you can purchase the book and that kind of good stuff. Particularly check out my website. In the book, each of the 7 women have a full section with their interviews. You can see their journey they've been on from the beginning to where they are today, and they're still moving through it. And so what I'd like to do now is to introduce Kate Callahan, who's our singer-songwriter for the day. Kate is a multiple award-winning singer and songwriter from West Hartford, Connecticut. For those of you who may not know, she was Connecticut's 16th state troubadour for 2 years, and she traveled around the state singing and sharing her original songs. She also currently does a therapeutic music program. She's done it with female inmates here in Connecticut, and she also offers vocal empowerment coaching sessions. I've known Kate for quite some time. She has come through my workshop. I think she's benefited not only from the material that I've put out, but the way she has taken her music to different places and different levels. And I love her music, and I love when she comes and sings for us, and particularly because she has some new music today. So I'm going to shift it over to her. We're hoping that her music comes through. It's a little bit hard on Zoom, but we will see how that goes. Okay?
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
So I have played for many of Susan's book launches, and I usually handpick the songs that I play based on the spirit of empowerment, and so I could play those songs that I've played before, but I really came into this launch wanting to play some new songs. I went through a divorce 2 years ago and lost a lot of the security and ground that I had come to know as a married person. And so as I have been reclaiming my life over these last 2 years, one of the things that has kind of come back for me is my creative process and my songwriting. So I'm going to play some of the new songs that I've written since that life change. This first one is, it's a tongue-in-cheek, metaphorical love song. It's called Everything Flashes. Everything moves me, everything's right, everything changes, everything's quiet, And love is like a movie star in the spotlight, 'cause everything flashes in the right light, in the right light. I have no way to guess who you'll be when lightning strikes and things are not what they seem. Have you embraced the vulnerability to love me? 'Cause everything moves me, everything's right, everything changes, everything's quiet. And love is like a moving car with no headlight, 'cause everything flashes. Better hold tight, better hold tight. We can't go back and forth, do you agree? Either we park the car or we leave. Have you embraced the vulnerability to love me? 'Cause everything moves me, everything's right, everything changes, everything's quiet. And love is like an acrobat taking flight, 'cause everything flashes from the right height, from the right height.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks. Kate will be back with another song. All right. I have to digest that a bit. I like that. I like the rhythm of that. It's upbeat, but also has a message. That's great. All right. What we're going to do now, I'm going to shift this back to Mary Jones, and she's going to. You're getting applause in the chat box, Kate. Just so you know. Not that we shouldn't all clap. It's kind of weird to do that on Zoom. How do we do that? We're going to move back to Mary Jones and to have her set up our panel. Just a reminder, you can put some questions and comments. If you can switch over to the Q&A, that would be helpful. Monica will be monitoring that. Sometimes questions get mixed up in the chat. So it's helpful to put it in the Q&A. If you haven't been on a webinar before, Q&A sections are not part of the Zoom meeting. So click on that down bottom there of your screen. That would be great. Mary Jones, go for it.
Yes, okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me? Okay, great, thank you. Yes, let me introduce the other two panelists in addition to you, Susan. And first, I just want to say to Kate, it's great to see you again, Kate. And as Susan alluded to, there were so many comments in the chat as you were performing that you could not see. And the words great talent just kept being written over and over and over. So congratulations for having that great talent, which you still do, Kate. Again, so nice to see you. So there are two women that are going to be on the panel. Let me introduce them along with Susan right now. Charlene Smith is one, and again, I will just give a brief description on both of these women. They are impressive, accomplished women. Charlene, for example, who's originally from South Africa, is a multi-award winning journalist, documentary filmmaker, and one of 3 authorized biographers of Nelson Mandela. I mean, really, how cool is that? She is a sexual assault survivor and author of Proud of Me, Speaking Out Against Sexual Violence and HIV. Charlene currently lives in Massachusetts, where she volunteers at a men's prison in Norfolk, Massachusetts. Charlene, are we going to be able to see Charlene at this point, or should I just introduce? You're there? Wonderful. Yep. It's so nice to meet you, Charlene. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to get right to you in a minute because being mindful of your schedule, but also Anne Marie Raftery, originally from Ireland, is a missionary Franciscan sister. She has spent 20 years working mostly with women inmates as a Catholic chaplain in federal prisons across the country, including Danbury, Connecticut. And currently she's a volunteer Catholic chaplain at a men's prison in Norfolk, Massachusetts. Sister Anne Marie, are you with us? I can't see either of them. Charlene and Sister Anne Marie, are their videos going to be up?
Yeah.
Oh, there's Charlene.
Both of them.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, and is Sister Anne Marie also here? Or we're just seeing maybe one at a time?
No, they're all on the gallery. Everyone is on at one time.
They are. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Charlene, let me start with you if I may, because again, I know that your schedule is kind of tight. Could you describe to us how you met Susan and really specifically what inspires you about her work? Because you have gotten to know her pretty well over the years, I know.
I met Susan at Norfolk Prison. I worked in a restorative justice program with some men, and one of the men was a man who'd killed his girlfriend. He'd strangled her, and he was struggling with remorse and was desperate to introduce a domestic violence program to Norfolk for the men, because lots and lots of men have issues around domestic violence. And he found Susan. And I think he found Susan through Sister Anne Marie, and was absolutely thrilled to have Susan. And I can't tell you. So my first impression is I care about the men and the struggle that they are going through. And as a rape survivor myself, my work is to help those who've been harmed in many ways. And I would estimate a very high number of those men have been experienced domestic violence in their homes and experienced rape themselves before they went to prison, mostly as children. And when I met Susan, I liked her informal manner. I liked the way that the workshops were structured. And for the men, it was really, really important. We had breakaway groups where they were able to speak. I was in a group where there was a young man who said he was really frightened of women. And in subsequent meetings with that group, I made sure that I went and sat next to him to help him know that it was safe. And Susan kept round and she kept checking on all the different groups and how we were going. And what struck me was how much this meant to the men. They were really desperate to have this sort of healing intervention. And I'm so sorry that they weren't able to experience it before they committed the crimes that they did and before they landed up in prison. And I think that our system is all wrong. I think that we give a lot of help to the perpetrators and we don't give enough assistance to those who feel the desire to hit or to lash out or to sexually violate women. We aren't helping them. We aren't stopping the problem before it occurs. And I think that the work that Susan does with women and with men, because I know that in South Africa, we've got a saying that each one teach one. I know that the work that she does with the men, they will teach other men, not only inside, but outside. And that's the way we're able to spiral out energies of healing.
That, and Charlene, that must be, and I'll just make this as a statement, that must be somewhat of a hurdle for a lot of folks in terms of, as you mentioned, showing men, showing the perpetrators that amount or any compassion.
It's not a hurdle for me. I mean, the day that I got raped, the night that I got raped, I knew that I needed to stop this. I also knew that I wasn't going to let the rapist control me. It had happened during the rape, but it wasn't going to happen afterwards. So if I remained an angry person, a person who wanted revenge, then he would control me forever. If I allowed him to be frightened, if I became frightened of men, then the rapist controlled me forever. But I'm Nelson Mandela's biographer. if Nelson Mandela was in jail in the United States, he had a life sentence. He would never have walked out of jail. And when Nelson Mandela walked out of the jail, we discovered one of the greatest men that the world had ever seen. So prison changed him. And if we believe that we can change, then others can change too. And what I've experienced is meeting some very great men in the prisons that I volunteered in South Africa and here.
You know, one of my all-time favorite books is just flashing through my mind, Charlene, as you're talking, is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And similarly, in terms of his path was, unfortunately, having spent many, many years in the Nazi prison camp, and the forgiveness and the perspective that he was able to have. So, I mean, that's just so powerful. Sister Anne-Marie, could I ask you that same question in terms of how you met Susan and what inspires you about her work?
Okay, sure. Hello, everyone. I met Susan in 2017 at Norfolk Prison, Massachusetts, where she gave a workshop to the men on family violence. The men were so appreciative, they begged her to come back, which she did several times. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, her last workshop, June 20th, Susan, had to be canceled.
I think so, yeah.
Yes, in June. Usually, for her workshops, there are about 100 men, and they prepare for Susan's visit with a great organizational plan to accommodate her program. One of the Spanish men does simultaneous translation for the Spanish-speaking brothers. And as one might expect, volunteers and professionals like Susan are the lifeblood for the inmates. They love the outside contact. The men know that you will be back, Susan. In the meantime, on their behalf, I thank you with all of my heart for the healing therapies and the compassion you bring the men. Namaste.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Of the men.
Susan, thank you, Sister Anne-Marie. Susan, could we talk about some role models and maybe throw that question out to the participants as well, if they want to put in the Q&A or the chat? Right. One is better than the other. I'm not sure which you.
We're in the Q&A right now.
In the Q.
But actually the poll is going to come up. Cindy's going to put the poll up in a second here. And it has, and if people haven't done polls before, they're usually only in webinars like we are today. So you get to do a quick, you get to pick one. I think in the first poll, I gave you multiple choice for who your potential role models are. And I put in a few that are actually in the book, like Oprah Winfrey, Maya Angelou, and Brene Brown. Not that I interviewed them, I would like to do that, but as people know who work with me, I use a lot of quotes. And so I asked the women who were in the book who some of their role models were, and that's how this came up. Oh, and of course, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I wanted to put in your mother or grandmother. My mother and my grandmother are my role models. And anybody else, if you want to, well, eventually put in the chat. The chat's not up, but yeah, there's a lot. So it's interesting how we begin to model. As anybody who knows anything about child development, that's how children learn, by modeling. But as we get older, we start to pick people maybe outside of our family, although I certainly have had learned a lot from my brothers and sisters and my aunts and uncles, my cousins in my life, and many of them have been involved in my work. My long-term friends, like my friend Jennifer and Diana Barnes Fox, we all sort of role model, but who are some of the big ones? And that was one of the things when I met Charlene that I always was, wanted to know more about Nelson Mandela. Sophia, for some of you who might know, actually met Oprah Winfrey. So the idea of how we connect to people is interesting. And then there's a second question. So I think Ruth Bader is going for it. I'm telling you. One of the things about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when I was in law school many years ago now, in the 1970s, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was an attorney, and I was reading her cases, the cases she won about sex discrimination. I didn't even know her name. I didn't know who she was. I knew she was an attorney, but I didn't subsequently, and that was one of the inspirations for me in law school, that I wanted to go out afterwards and to litigate around women's issues and sex discrimination. So that's really why I threw her up there more than anything. All right. Is there a second one, Cindy? Go ahead. Mary, do you have a comment?
Well, I was just going to ask Sister Anne Marie if you would, if I'm going to put you on the spot here, Sister, if you have a person who you have been inspired by throughout your life.
Well, I have several. Our mother founders, but I've chosen Nelson Mandela because I know he is such a role model and hero for the men prisoners. I hold him as a hero also, and one of my favorite quotes from him, actually it's a paraphrase because I don't have the actual, but it goes something like this. Nelson said, "I knew as well as I knew anything that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. And until this happens, both the oppressed and the oppressors are robbed of their humanity." And I think that is so true. It's very powerful and very, very challenging, challenge set up for today. And I also have a little story. Actually, it's not my own story, but it's really the experience of Sister Elizabeth Johnson, a sister of St. Joseph, not my community, who teaches at Fordham University, New York. And in the early 1982, just before Mandela was released from Robben Island prison, Sister Elizabeth was in Johannesburg giving a talk to a religious group. And the evening before her return home to New York, she took a final walk down Main Street in Johannesburg. And at one intersection, she was just taken aback by a huge poster that read, "Hang Mandela." And she regretted not having her camera, so she decided to go back down the next morning before she left for the airport. And overnight, some brave soul had climbed up and put the two-letter word on between hang and Mandela, now reading, "Hang on, Mandela." She was absolutely delighted, and now she had the best shot in her camera to inspire and to motivate her students at Fordham University. I think that's a great story. I've told it many times to the inmates to hang on, hang on. And
Well,
the power of words, the power of the imagination.
that is so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we are talking today about hope, healing, and empowerment. So that hope really comes through in what you just shared. I have another question before we get to that. Charlene, are you okay time-wise?
Yeah, I can manage, yeah.
Okay, all
I'd
right.
love to have Charlene talk about her role model too.
That was.
I'm hoping it was Nelson Mandela, but I don't know.
Charlene?
I just want to tell you another quote that Mandela said, and I really love what's been said about him so far. He said, "Make friends of your enemies," and that is so hard to do.
Wow.
But that's what transformed South Africa, because the people that we didn't like and the people that we were opposed to, we had to make friends with them. And what it what that means is about suppressing your own ego and about not thinking that everything that you believe or that you do is right or that your way is the only way. It's really about, well, Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird says about putting on someone else's skin and walking around in it. And I think that those are such profound lessons. My all-time hero, though, I have to say, I love Mandela, but it's the person who influenced him and who influenced Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi. For me, Gandhi was the greatest person who lived in contemporary times. And I love his philosophies of nonviolence resistance, his philosophy of satyagraha, which means love power, and that love can overcome anything. And what I love about your book, Susan, is you've got Rainer Maria Rilke's phrase in the beginning: the only journey is the one within. And I think that that's where love begins, because I think if we can't really love ourselves, then how can we love others? And if we can't have empathy for ourselves, how can we have empathy for others? And if we won't stand up for our rights and demand what is good for us, how can we do that properly for anyone else? So I love the fact that you have that at the very beginning of the book. And both of those men, the greatest men in the world, Gandhi, Mandela, Martin Luther King, and also many of the great women of our world, what's made them great is their commitment to nonviolence and to nonviolent resistance. So when we encounter violence, we have a choice. I was so upset this week because an acquaintance from South Africa who lives in the United States, I was speaking to him about working in prisons, and he said to me, you know what those men do when they go back into their cells at night, what they think of? And I said, are you saying that they are like other men and what other men think of? But I thought that this person's approach was vile. And it's not someone I'm going to be talking to again. So I think that if we can focus on making friends of our enemies and learn just a little bit from the work that people like Susan do, where they reach out to those that are unexpected. So Susan has experienced harm in her own family. She works with lots and lots of women who've experienced harm. And I have to tell all of you, I was so proud of you listening to you. I thought you were so fabulous. And reading the book, some of your experiences, because that's how we change the world.
Mary, if I can say something, thank you, Charlene. That was so brilliant. And that's why we connected so much sitting in the visiting area endlessly at the prison. It was really clear to me after Maggie was killed that, and I had this idea even when I was doing legal, years before Maggie was killed, I was representing women going through divorce who were domestic violence victims, that I would get this one woman away from this one man, but he would go on and hurt 10 more women in his lifetime. And when Maggie was killed, it became even clearer to me. And in fact, on the call today is Scott Vinci, one of the people I've worked with in the past doing batterers intervention programs. I did them for almost 15 years because I really, really felt like to solve this problem or to even address it, we need to, it's always the question of why does a woman stay? And the question that just burdens me every single time I work with men, and even particularly men in the prison, and the one man in particular that we were talking about, why do men do this? And the men, when I showed them some of the tools that they could have to manage their anger and deal with the cycle of violence, they literally said to me, and just so sadly, why didn't anybody tell us this earlier? Why didn't we learn this in school? Why didn't we learn this from the environment that we live in? And instead, they've done bad things and they should be punished, but 25, 35 years in jail, I mean, and they have come, as you talked about Nelson Mandela, to be a whole different person. And yet, and then you go to the women's prison. I've been to women's prison in Pennsylvania, and there are women there for 25 years, 30 years because they killed their husband at a time when there were no shelters and no domestic violence services. And it's just such, you know, a waste. And so we really have to do this across the board. I absolutely agree. And that's a tough thing. And many of the women in my group have talked about that, you know, that letting go process of, and that's what I decided. I wasn't going to get stuck in my anger, and I wasn't going to get stuck in that place where, you know, because this man who killed my niece killed himself, you know, I had to move on to some other place. So. All right. I just wanted to stop for a minute. I got these beautiful flowers.
I was going to ask if you just had flowers delivered to your door.
Yeah, these are from 3 of the women, Terry, Jennifer, and Kimberly in my group. So thank you so much. I was just like, who's sending me? Who's buzzing my, I live in an apartment building. All right, let's see, where are we at here, Mary? Go for it.
Well, yes, and I was going to ask again, we're talking today about hope, healing, and empowerment. I would love to ask our 3 panelists, but also our audience as well, if you can put in the Q&A. Let's talk about hope for a minute. Let's talk about whether you've ever lost hope in your life, and maybe take it to the next point, even more importantly, what helped you or others to heal, to be empowered. So if you can relate to that question, please comment in the Q&A. And Sister Emery, can I ask you to respond to that in terms of hope and what in your experience helps people to heal?
Well, I've never fully lost hope. Yeah, thank goodness. However, I will say I have endured betrayals, and it has taken me a long time. I've been angry, taken me a long time to recover. And I've written down some wisdoms that helped me in the process of healing. How do I heal? Reflection, meditation, I think that's important. I talk to friends, I talk to a spiritual mentor. And some wisdoms that help me to forgive, because without forgiveness, we're forced to carry the sufferings of the past. And forgiveness, as I see it, is about my relationship to a past experience. And that's much, much more important than someone's hurtful behavior to me. So I forgive and I move on. It may take a long time, you know, to forgive. The healing therapies, I love Susan's method, how she starts, she has her client begin with her original goodness. And I think that is so, so important. The part of her that has been untouched by the abuse. I think this is already a winner. And I feel that her approach has the power of psychologically leading the person to a positive and self-empowering road to thriving. Thriving of itself it resonates very positively with me. Now let's see what else. I think it's extremely important, as I see Susan's method. The pilot, the client is her own pilot, and Susan is kind of the co-pilot in the healing journey. Susan calls it being the hero of your own story. And this model resonates very well with me. Also, her umbrella theme, living well, the best revenge, is especially inspiring. It's inspiring to me because it sparks in me a more satisfying and empowering spin on my own forgiveness processes and healing rituals. So for me, living well, the best revenge, has a kind of universal human appeal. Just the very concept is empowering.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for that. And Susan, yes, could you please comment on that? I mean, you've touched upon that in terms of your own personal experience with Maggie, but could you expand a little bit on that, and also from the perspective of the many, many hundreds of women that you've worked with over the years, in terms of what do you think helps them to heal and become empowered?
So I think Sophia said it in her piece about thriving is about movement. I think it's about movement forward. And I think that if you get stuck, and we all get stuck, there's all moments that we get stuck. If you get stuck, then you need to find the thing that will begin to push you forward. One of the things I was really clear about with the workshop from the very beginning, almost like intuitive, and my right brain, not my left brain, because I didn't know how I was going to do it. I decided that I wasn't just going to have a workshop and say goodbye to the women when it was done, that I wanted to have an ongoing group. So I have monthly follow-up groups. The program is free to the women. I work with a nonprofit that I founded called the Connecticut Alliance for Victims of Violence and Their Families, CT Alive. A number of people on this call, including my family, my aunts and uncles, my sister, my brother, my sister-in-law, that have donated over the years to CT Alive. Really important that there's no monetary barrier to that. I'm running a fundraiser on Facebook for CT Alive in October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month if you want to join in. But that's really important. And secondly, that I have a monthly follow-up. So at the end of each workshop, they set a new goal for themselves. It might be a goal that they had coming into the workshop, like I need to find a better job, like Pamela did. But it comes out of a different energy. And so I think that's the movement. And as we move through goals and we role model for each other, oh, Sophia just passed her licensing for a social worker test. Boy, she's my role model. I'm going to do that. Tawanda has gotten some promotions. I'm going to go do that. So the idea that we keep pushing ourselves out there, I think, is the only way that we heal. Or we find some place, and maybe it's not even called healing, but it's some place where we begin to thrive, and the pain doesn't go away. The reason why I do an event every year on Maggie's anniversary is because it's a difficult day for me, but I want to somehow make it positive. So the more I can move to positive, the more it will help to get us there. So thank you for that. Charlene just had to leave, so we're
Yes.
okay. I know she's teaching a class.
One of the things, Susan, if I could just add to what you just
sure.
said, you know, on my radio show, the one in Hartford and also my one in Florida, my signature sign off has always been and always will be to believe in yourself. And as you're talking, that's just coming to mind in terms of the importance, and we can all do that, of really rely on that deep-seated belief that we can develop, that we are worthy and that we deserve, and to have that self-confidence. So that belief in yourself is just so key, isn't it?
And I think it's that idea, that affirmation. That's, I think, Cindy, can you put up the second poll real quick? And then we got to move along here so we don't go over our time. But this was, I work with a lot of affirmations. So I thought we could try a few here. I think you have to pick one. I think I did this as a single answer. So this is hard, but see if you can pick one.
They're all so good, Susan.
I know. I make it difficult, don't I?
Yeah, at times you do. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to read those or no? It's just
well, for people who, the ones I made these up. There's maybe more. Never give up. Always have hope. Living well is the best revenge. I am a thriver. That's what I have up on all of my, you can see it, my sticky notes right here on my computer screen. The best is yet to come. Let go and let God. One day at a time. Those are 12-step affirmations that are really important. I have a lot of women. I have some women in my program who've gone through 12-step also. Power up and be brave, and have courage and be kind. If you watch the last version, the live version of Cinderella, one of my favorite stories, that was her affirmation for her mother: have courage and be kind. Yeah, so it's trying to find something that keeps you moving. I think that's the healing process too.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Susan, there's one more question. However, I want to ask you from a logistic perspective.
Okay.
Do we want to do another question for you and Sister Anne Marie, or do we need to move on to another reading?
I think we need to move on to the reading so we can get through
I think
here.
exactly. I think so too.
I think we covered it. There were some comments in the Q&A. Anything particular? I know that Carol put up a piece about some programs here in Connecticut that work with boys to men. Really great program. I've heard about it. I know it's once again that trying to work with men. Anything else?
Monica, could you put the poll results back up for a second? You had it up very quickly, but I didn't get a chance to glimpse at the results. There we go. Are you looking at Susan in terms of all the?
I think we got let go and let God. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's tight. It's a tight race.
It is, and they're all fabulous. So it looks
I made it hard. You had to pick one, so that was hard.
God, but we will embrace all of those for sure.
Right.
For
Whatever
sure.
you got, get a sticky note and put it up there on your bathroom mirror. Look at it every day.
Look at it a couple times a day. Yes. Absolutely. And certainly first thing in the morning. Very powerful. Do you want to introduce the readings, Susan?
Yes, we're going to do 2 more readings. These are real important. For those of us who've been around for a while, we haven't heard Sophia do her I'm a Woman of Power. So we want to have her do that. And also I mentioned earlier that Catherine has a new poem. It's very powerful. When she read it to me for the first time, when we were doing the interview, I said, we have to have this in the book. So let's start with Sophia. Cindy, I think she's ready to rock and roll. So I have an exercise, and I have my own that I did. I used writing prompts, and the writing prompts for this exercise was I'm a woman of power, and the second prompt was today I celebrate my life. So that empowerment idea, how do you move people to empowerment? Sophia, are you with us? She's working on her lighting, which is good. She's hanging out with Kimberly today, so. Whenever you're ready, Sophia.
Okay.
You're good. We can see you.
Okay. I am a woman of power. You see who has made a positive impact on the world through my own healing, wellness, and creativity. I am a woman of power who has integrity and always believes in doing the right thing. Even when it's challenging, it exposes my true character when no one sees me but God. I am a woman of power who has embarked upon this earth to make a difference in other women's life. You see, to inspire them to achieve their highest level of humanity and cultivate the world with love. Today, I celebrate my life by being true to myself, being open to others, and being filled with positive energy. You see, this transformation has brought out the best in me through my own self-love, like a flower bud. Allow me to blossom into a beautiful rose. Today, I celebrate my life, which resembles the ever-changing 4 seasons, fall to winter, winter to spring, and then spring to summer. Secure that I can go forward and confident and without fear of anything. Today, I celebrate my life. Today, I celebrate Sophia and celebrate Mama Susan.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
Mama Susan.
Love that.
Which I understand in the Jamaican culture is a term of endearment, Sophia, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And Catherine, this is a piece that's new in the book. Whenever you're ready, Cindy's gonna get you on the screen, Catherine. Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you.
Always inspiring.
So this is a piece that I wrote, not on the screen, but.
Yeah, you're on.
Okay. It's a piece that I wrote in response to Susan's writing prompt of the hero's journey, which is you go through something really difficult and you struggle through it and you are just so beaten down, and then you rise out of it and find your voice and your power and your strength and move on. And I wrote this poem in response to that, and I really love it. It's entitled, "This is Wrong." It's just a whisper, just a thought, just a blip across my conscious mind. This is wrong. I question myself as others do too. I believe the lie that they must know me better than I know myself. I say it aloud, in private, alone. I try out the words, feel them as they slip through my lips. This is wrong. I let the thought linger longer in my mind. It collides against self-realization and new understanding, sticks to them and becomes more powerful. This is wrong. I finally believe it enough to speak up and tell someone else. My voice is hesitant, needing validation. This is wrong, I try to assert. The words come back. You think you're right, but you are wrong. You've no right to fight. They push me down and criticize, think they're seeing through my eyes. The words beat me down, and I retreat inside my shell, admit defeat. They tumble around and knock my self-concept off balance. I yield, I break, I lose part of myself. Am I wrong? The anchor tied around me tight keeps me held down deep. Don't talk, don't fight. I've lost myself, and in despair I cry to God. I know He cares. He brings angel hands to help me bear this pain, this throbbing heartache of having no voice. I find supporters, believers, validators. Their words are healing, and soon I start to see truth again. Broken and devastated, the safest place I knew is gone. Cracked and chipped, but pieced together, I rise again and find my voice. This is wrong. Again, the insults slam my face. They try to enter sacred space. But I don't believe these critics now. Instead, I'm led back to the truth. I stand up tall. God told me I am valuable and worthy of love and respect. I shut out everything else and believe Him. And I start to hear the words inside rise up like a volcano's blast. This is wrong. I disbelieve the others' lies. They don't know. To truth, they're blind. Now my insides start to scream. I know my truth. I know what's me. And this is wrong. They want to silence every ounce of strength I've gained. They want to pounce and hold me down, remove my roar and break me yet again. But I am strong, no longer afraid of powers that be or the punishments they can give to me. I say it over and over again. This is wrong. I am bruised, but I am brave. I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. I shout out loud, calling, I own my voice in spite of fear. The way is hard but right. I will shout loudly. I will fight. This is wrong.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Can I ask you, Catherine, how long ago you wrote that? I'm just curious. Is that recent or many years ago?
It was probably 2 years ago.
Oh, fairly recent. Oh, well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Oh my goodness. You also, as did Sophia, boy, the accolades are coming on the Q&A for both of you.
Yes.
Very, very well deserved. Jenny, you have a poem also, I understand?
No, I think we're okay. I think that's the two we're going to do today.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Yes.
That's okay. That's okay.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
changed that there.
No.
All right. We've got a song from
Another
Kate
song.
and a quick message from the book marketer from Sharon. So let's do that. Kate, if you're ready. I don't know if you want to do, we were going to do a song and then have Sharon talk and then come back to you with a song.
Does that still, do you still feel like we
Yeah, I
have
think we
to do
could do that. Yeah, we should be able to.
that? Okay. All right. So another new one, and taking on the issue in this song of the hungry and homeless population. This is called Waiting to See. Listen carefully. You are not who I thought I'd be waiting to see in the hours when people rush home to be with the ones who make life less alone, 'cause you are not young, not poor, not old, and you are someone's child, a hungry man, a starving girl. And I see you on the street, and I ask, is there something that you'd like to eat? And you kiss your hand and point up to the sky. And I think if God is the cook, I am willing to buy, 'cause you are not young, not poor, not old, and you are someone's child, a hungry man, a starving girl. And you told me you stood for 3 hours and not one driver looked in your eyes. And you said those who stand in the eye of the storm will not fall from the hunger inside. And you are not young, not poor, not old, and you are someone's child, a hungry man, a starving girl. And now the sun goes down and people aren't driving through this part of town, and we eat our meals, we read the news on our phones, and mostly forget there are people without homes, 'cause we are not young, not poor, not old, and we are someone's child, a well-fed man, a happy girl.
I love it. Thank you,
Oh,
Kate.
I love that. Yes.
So I wanted to just introduce Sharon, who's my book marketer. There's been a conversation going on in the chat room about the coupon code, but I think it is, I just checked with Kim Welsh is on. She's my website designer, fabulous website designer. If you haven't been on my website, please go there. There shouldn't be any limit, and you shouldn't if you just type in launch 2020, it should be okay. If you have a problem, just email me and we'll sort it out. Please, I'd love to get a book to you. Sharon.
Thank you.
Ready to rock and roll? Do you want me to run the slides, or are you going to be fine?
Let me just say a couple things first, and then we'll move. And I can't tell if I'm on screen either. Am I?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are. Yep.
What a great, wonderful day to celebrate. This is, I'm with people most years when you're doing the launches, but this was just an incredibly powerful opportunity with those in conversation, with those that were reading, and Susan for all of your work. Just a powerful, powerful day. I've had a great joy of being able to help Susan do the marketing and launches of her books throughout the years. And we've expanded it with each one. We've expanded the reach, and many of you that are participating today have had a part in doing that. And I'm going to give you a couple more tips as we go through. But Susan said something earlier about COVID creating some new opportunities, as difficult as it is for all of us. And that's really been very true of Susan's books also, because during COVID, ebooks and audiobooks are purchased much more frequently than print books, especially since a lot of libraries are still closed. They're buying many more ebooks and audiobooks, and Susan has embraced that, and we'll get to that in just a minute about what all these different formats you can now buy, some and now more of the book. So Susan, why don't you throw up the first slide?
Okay, hold on a second here.
Well, I'll talk while you're doing that.
Go ahead.
Today, we're very excited to be launching Living in the Thriver Zone, which completes this self-help trilogy of the Thriver Zone. And there is a code that gives you 20% off. And the only reason people are having a problem with it is it's launch 2020, no spaces, no quotation marks, anything. It's just launch 2020, and that should work, and no limit and that sort of thing. So we're excited about the opportunity to purchase this. And like I say, it completes the trilogy. But the other piece is we've also been able to put it into an ebook, which should be available next week. You'll see it first if you go to Amazon, but it's been done and it's in the process of being moved over, so that wherever you buy ebooks, which obviously are not on people's websites, but you need to go to another place for however you buy ebooks. So that should be next week, and Susan, in some of your follow-up with people that are on this call or on this Zoom, we'll give them that information. Going the next step, the facilitator's guide. Many of you are on this webinar that are either part of NOVA or part of the other groups that Susan has worked with, that are actually taking these materials out into your groups of people that you work with. This facilitator's guide will just be a real asset in using this in a variety of groups. We're shooting for April 2021, and we're pretty sure we're going to be able to hit that. And you will get more and more information on that. If you haven't already, when you go to Susan's website, thriverzone.com, make sure you sign up for the thing that talks about if you want more updates or information, because when you get onto that list, then Susan will automatically be sending you bits and pieces of information as these other things are made available. And going forward, the additional series that Susan has is the Best Revenge series. Awaken and Emerge exist right now. And what's really exciting is we're working on the audiobook.
Yes.
And Susan's niece,
No, my cousin.
Sorry, I get all these wonderful family members and I get the relationships confused a little bit. It's literally in process. She's recording it now, and we are, it takes a while, but we're hoping that by January we will have that as an audiobook. As soon as that one is finished, or not even as soon as it's finished, but as soon as she's finished her part, then Emerge will also go on to audio. And we're hoping that by spring or so, we will also start working on Living in the Thriver Zone as an audio. Right. Then, as if Susan doesn't have enough to do, she's also working on the third book in the Best Revenge series to complete that. And we're really looking for a fall of 2021. So this time next year, we hope to be announcing Thrive. And again, then that will go also into ebook and into audiobook. So we're going to take a real complete look at the whole piece. A lot of what for those of you who have been at the workshops or have heard about it, a lot of what I also talk about is how you all can be involved and continue to help Susan move through on her message. And a couple of things, Susan will be sending out a recording, or the link to the recording of this session. If I know a lot of us were very moved by this, you can then share that with people that you think will benefit by hearing that message, and also will have option for the books, etc. And also Susan will be sending you some of the flyers on the book so that you will have more information. And of course, always that wonderful review on Amazon. So I'll leave that with you, Susan, and you can move on from there.
So we're going to finish up here. Two more things. Let me share my screen. I want to thank everybody for coming on. I just realized that I had two of my cousins I didn't know were on. One is Michael Shimbor, my younger cousin, one of the youngest cousins. I have 26 first cousins, so it's a pretty, and I'm one of the oldest. He's also been my proofreader. He's a fabulous proofreader. And one of the only reasons why, if you read my books, there's no mistakes, it's because of Michael. So thank you so much for that. And also I realized that Alina, my newest cousin-in-law, who just married my cousin Matt, who lives out in Seattle, they live out in Seattle, they did it on Zoom because of COVID. So welcome to the family, Alina, and thank you so much for being on. Everybody else, all my aunts and uncles, all my friends, people who've come on, thank you so much. I'd love for you to get the word out, and particularly people who've been working in this area for a while, who are looking for resources. This would be great, a great opportunity to get the information out. I am open to doing that in any way I can. One of the things that I'm doing with Cindy's group in Virginia, her domestic violence sexual assault program that she's a director of, is working with them to start doing workshops there. My workshops are now virtual. I have another workshop coming up in October. And if you'd like to join that, you can go on to myavengingangel.com and sign up there through Hartford Healthcare. The other thing I want to share real quick is the information. See, I think I'm doing that right now for Kate Callahan. If you go to her website for her music CDs, and also some of her other products, including her wonderful Triumph affirmation cards. Let's see, that's my CT Alive. I talked about that, and this is the information about the upcoming workshop. So thank you so much for being here. This is my I'm a Woman of Power statement. I'm a woman of power whose mission in life is to be a catalyst for change for victims of violence against women. Today I celebrate my life by building a community of strong, independent, productive women who've survived abuse and are thriving in well-being, love, and joy. Thank you to all my panelists, and to Cindy and to Monica doing backup for me. We did fabulously. Right now in the chat is the link to go to our post-launch party, bring your own drinks and snacks. It's right now in the chat. If you have a problem with getting on, call me at my number or email me. I can get you on there. So please, thank you so much to everybody, Mary, Sister Anne Marie, and Charlene. I'm going to wrap this up with Kate. What do they say? Taking us off the air, or whatever they call that. Isn't there a lingo in radio TV land, right?
I think it's take it away.
Take it away.
Take it away.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Have you ever asked yourself, why am I here? Is it to learn, to teach? Does it change every year now that you're here? Whether your song makes the charts or you're paralyzed on stage, we've seen it all. This is folk. Things happen at any age now that you're here. So won't you sing along? Clarity comes in the words of a song. Keep it simple, keep it strong, and let our time here be a page we drilled on. Won't you sing along? Have you ever asked yourself, what can I do? Is lifting my voice enough? Can my words break through? That's why I'm here. With each note we sing, we stand, asking the world to hear, letting our hope run wild, staying grounded in what's real now that we're here. So won't you sing along? Clarity comes in the words of a song. Keep it simple, keep it strong, and let our time here be a bridge we build on. Won't you sing now that we're here? The call to sing connects us all as our vision cuts ever more clear, to wake the heart and feel. Oh, won't you sing? Clarity comes in the words of a song. Keep it simple, keep it strong, and let our time here be a bridge we build on. Won't you sing along? Won't you sing along? Won't you sing along? Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks to you all. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
being here. Thanks to all my aunts and uncle, Aunt Marilyn, Uncle Chet. Thank you so much. I just posted back in the chat one more time the link to the post-launch extravaganza party. So please do that with us and come hang out a bit. Thank you so much to all of you. Kate, that was wonderful. My aunt she just called me to say she couldn't get in the chat, but she wanted everybody to know, including Kate, how beautiful it was. So there you are. The Biscotti lady has spoken. Thank you. I'll wait for a minute here before I close out so everybody has the link. And I will see you soon in some place. And remember, my best advice to you is keep on thriving. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.